everybody, it's me, Mary or Hawk. Welcome back to another video. I made a short about this earlier before this video, but I wanted to talk about why it's important to keep in mind the science behind crystal healing. And by science behind crystal healing, I mean the science behind the individual crystals themselves, scientific facts like their hardness and the minerals that compose these crystals. When it comes to what crystals you make an elixir out of, how do you cleanse these crystals, when to handle them, how to handle them, all this is very, very important for your safety because some of these crystals can really mess you up in their raw state or when handled with wet hands. So with that being said, I hope this was a good intro. Let's get on into this, and apologies for any rambliness. I am neurodivergent, and so I have to stick to a little bit of a script. But if your crystal is a 6 or lower on the Mohs scale of hardness, it is generally advisable that you keep it out of water for prolonged periods, especially. They will often crack or break or possibly leach heavy metals and toxins into the liquid, most likely water, that you have submerged them in. With that being said, it is very important that you know the hardness of your crystal and the minerals that compose your crystal before you go making an elixir with them. And if you're going to make an elixir, it's advised that you keep them in a dry area surrounding the elixir bottle or water bottle and have them infuse the energy of the water that way rather than directly submerging them, because some of these crystals you do not want to get wet with water in a million freaking years. And I'm going to give some examples. Most of these I have on hand to show you, some I do not. I'm going to give the ones that I do not offhand right now. So for instance, galena. Galena is often formed alongside pyrite or near pyrites, and galena is a lead-based crystal. It is a lead-based crystal, and you do not want to get that wet, because if you get that wet, especially in its raw state, and even if it's polished, you first off, you don't know what it's polished with or how well it's polished, and second, when it gets into that water, it's going to leach lead in there. You do not want to be drinking lead. Second would be cinnabar. Cinnabar has mercury and sulfur. In fact, cinnabar is what is used to make the original vermilion paints. Mercuric sulfide, you do not want to ingest that. That will form hydrogen sulfide in your stomach and you will not have a fun time. In fact, you will die if you consume that. And I don't say that to fearmonger. I'm just saying you don't want to consume cinnabar. You don't want to consume galena. But there's so many other crystals out there that you don't want to consume. They're often a lot more commonly found than cinnabar or galena when it comes to the mass-marketed crystals. So with that being said, let's get into those specific mass-marketed crystals, some examples of them, and why you should never, ever, ever get these submerged in water and make an elixir out of them. First things first, let's start off with the big bang here, okay? Pyrite, fool's gold, yeah, this will form sulfuric acid if it gets in contact with water. I'm not joking, you can look it up. It forms sulfuric acid. You don't want to get this wet. This will kill you, or at least do serious harm to your body if you were to consume an elixir made of pyrite, that you put the pyrite directly in the water. Yeah, that would kill you. Don't do it. Just don't do it if you want to stay alive. Another one that is good to avoid, this is a polished piece. I found out when looking up about charoite that some specimens can be slightly radioactive due to the amount of potassium and other compounds within this mineral. So you don't want to necessarily get something that's radioactive in your water, even if it is just potassium. I mean, yes, potassium's also in banana, but it's a form of radiation. So there's other things in there that can be possibly radioactive. So it's best to keep your charoite out of the water. And besides, it could be damaged by the water because it ends in ite. It is a 6 or lower on the Mohs scale of hardness. Don't get it wet. The next crystal on here is going to be a doozy. This is malachite. Yes, it's a 1 kilo specimen that I have. Malachite can contain toxic levels of copper. And you really don't want to put it, especially in its raw form, if there's any raw bits on it, don't put it in water. It can be potentially carcinogenic due to the levels of copper, potentially. Just don't drink an elixir made of copper. It's just your best bet. Do not do that. If you handle it, wash your hands afterward. Same goes for pyrite. Wash your hands after handling, because you don't want to get that ingested into your body. The next crystal is kind of popping up more, I've seen, is vanadinite. Vanadinite? I don't know how to pronounce it. Vanadinite. Yes, this contains some arsenic, vanadium, and lead, which you don't want to consume. Yeah, don't consume this, please. This has like possibly lead and at the very least vanadium, which is toxic to humans. You don't want to consume that. Please don't consume that. The next one I've seen popping up more on the market, especially in the Indonesian market, which I have nothing against, is Bumblebee Jasper. Bumblebee Jasper has arsenic in this, in the form of realgar and sulfur. Which, yeah, you don't want to consume either one of those things. Arsenic is deadly. It'll kill you dead. Yeah, it's best you don't make an elixir out of this. Please don't. The next one is going to be fluorite. This is a lower quality piece of fluorite. However, fluorite has fluorine, and especially if you put this in hot water, yeah, it can release some really toxic stuff in there, like fluorine, which is not the best for you. So please don't put fluorite in water, especially hot water. The next crystal is Amazonite. Amazonite has copper in enough of an amount where it could prove toxic, so just don't put Amazonite in water. Also, it's a 6 or lower on the Mohs scale of hardness, which means it may be damaged by prolonged contact with water. And last but not least, lapis lazuli. Yeah, lapis lazuli, don't put this in water. You know why? The gold flecks are in lapis. Let me see if I can get a ring light on this to show, but let me try to focus. But there are some gold flecks in lapis, and that is pyrite. Yes, lapis contains pyrite, which, as you know from discussions earlier, pyrite contains sulfuric acid. Or makes sulfuric acid, not contains, it'll create sulfuric acid. My bad on that one, but yes, pyrite will produce sulfuric acid when in contact with water, so it's best you don't put this in an elixir. Yeah, don't put lapis in your elixirs. You will form sulfuric acid, especially if that elixir is water-based. So with that being said, I hope this illustrated why you shouldn't make crystal elixirs from crystals that are a 6 or lower on the Mohs scale of hardness. And I hear some of you saying, but what if they're polished? And all I have to say to that is, you don't know what they polished that with. You don't know what they polished that crystal with. It could be equally as problematic to digest as what's in that crystal. So it's best you not do that. And even with things like quartz, there can be pyrite. Pyrite can form within quartz. And there could be cracks leading to the pyrite. So if you put that quartz in water thinking, oh, it's fine, the pyrite's inside the quartz, there's no cracks, there could be microscopic cracks that you don't detect, and boom, you got some sulfuric acid within your water. And let's not consume sulfuric acid, okay? Let's not do that. It's better left not done. So, with that being said, I hope that illustrated why you probably shouldn't be making crystal elixirs by directly putting crystals in water, especially if they are a 6 or lower on the Mohs scale of hardness, or you know they contain minerals and crystals that are a 6 or lower on the Mohs scale of hardness, even if the main crystal itself is higher on the Mohs scale. With that being said, I hope you liked this rambly video. Please stay safe. I know you're probably utilizing crystal healing to try to treat some things that you're dealing with. Let's not worsen those maladies by drinking sulfuric acid, okay? Okay, safety first. I hope you enjoyed. This is Hawk or Mary signing out. Stay magical, and thank you for coming along with me on this part of my journey.